What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a two-tone job on some Workmeister S1 2Ps. These are a welded two-piece wheel. It's going to be going gloss black lip and barrel with a matte black face. I already went ahead and chemically stripped these down, which is where this video is going to start off. Remember, if you enjoy this video, hit that like button. You can subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to get a heads up anytime we upload new content. Hope you enjoy the video. Alright, now we got these things out of the chemical stripper. They're all rinsed off, everything's good, minus all this curb rash. And there is a ton of curb rash on these. Some of it's a little bit deep. Luckily these lips, the way that they're rolled is actually still pretty thick. So we're just going to take a DA and knock all this back down. We'll get to that right now. And when I say DA, I guess for those of you that don't know, it's a dual action sander. I run 80 grit discs. Buy them 50 at a time, 100 at a time, pretty cheap. I think it's like 20 bucks for 100, the hook and loop. So we'll just go around this and sand it real quick. Okay, there we go. This thing all smoothed out. Let's go throw it in the blasting cabinet right now. Alright, got these things all taped off, already been outgassed, so I'm going to hang them up now and spray the first coat. These are actually going to two-tone black. Alright, got the mirror black loaded up. These are actually going to be kind of a matte black center with a gloss black lip. But the way I'm going to accomplish that is I'm going to spray the entire thing in mirror black, and then I'm going to go back and shoot a Casper clear over top of just the center, and then wipe away all the what I don't need, obviously. So we'll get going to that right now. And like usual, I start all my wheel projects on the back. It's always been that way. You know, I had somebody comment in one of the videos that that's the wrong way to do it, which, I mean, I guess maybe it is for however they do shit, but the way I've always done it, it seems to work out really well. There are times that I spray the front first, but they're on specific colors doing specific things, so. That all knocked out. That way, all your powder, I mean, you have some powder that came through the front, which is helping you with coverage, and then you're not getting too much powder on the face doing it this way. You spray the face first and then you go back and spray the back, it ends up giving you way too much powder on the front, or it has potential to give you too much powder on the front, I should say. I have this cloud turned down fairly low right now. I mean, for a job like this, it's fairly low, I guess is what I should be saying. Because I want to get it down into these cracks, or these crevices rather. Go ahead and spray all this. It's been a little rough doing this with no mask on, trying to make these how-to videos. Anybody who actually powder coats for any period of time in a day knows how ridiculous your snot looks or buggers look after this. It is out of control. Alright. We'll get this thing into the oven. Got the mirror black sprayed, did a partial cure on that. Gonna go in right now and spray basically a matte black over most of the wheel. Then we're gonna wipe off all the areas we don't want it. I have the KV set on this pretty low, just because I know I'm gonna have to get the gun in here tight in a couple places, and the last thing I want is back ionization. I'm sure you guys have seen that, where you end up with, well, if you're a powder coater, you've probably seen that. Hopefully as a customer, you've never had to see that. But there's little stars basically in all your powder. And that's either from your KV being too high or your gun being too close typically. There's actually a couple other things that can cause it, but they're pretty rare, so we won't bother getting into all those. If you are having a problem with back ionization, I guess, feel free to message me and I'll try to help out. So we'll spin this thing around and do the back side. This is weird doing this with one hand. Really could have just set this up on a tripod. And then I'm spraying, I pulled the tape off for this, because it made more sense to pull the tape off for right now. I'm gonna go through, powder coat the whole back of this face. The whole back barrel is gonna remain gloss black. So, I'm also wondering if this is gonna mess with the sound again like it did last time. Sorry, this isn't the best view. Trying to do this with one hand is not super effective, but all right, now this thing's all coated, we'll go ahead and start the wipe process so you can see how that goes. So I'm guessing that this part's actually going to be really hard to show you guys in detail, but I'm going to do my absolute best. Once again, if there's questions that you have about tools that I'm using or something that you want more detail on, let me know. I'll try to make a supplement video to this one to sort of clear up anything. Because this thing is going gloss black, you know, we've already sprayed the entire wheel gloss black. I got to clear off all the powder off the backside and then all the powder off the lip area as well. And the way that we're going to do that mostly is with a vacuum. I just use a plain ass shop vac, but then I have kind of a specialty tip, that's what she said, to vacuum in like tighter areas and to make sure to not scratch the surface. On this, it's not going to matter because we're on such a partial cure. You know, any scratches that happen are going to flow back out and be fine. But I'll show you this tool here. So all this is you can buy this piece at you know, Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store of any kind. This is just some hose from spraying. I mean, this is what my powder goes through to the gun. I just slip that over the end, and then you have a nice, soft, flexible, small surface to vacuum into tight areas. There, I have some things that go tighter than this, but we'll get to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through and vacuum off as much powder as I can, just from the start. It's not going to be perfect. You'll probably see it's not even like a good job. It's just getting a majority of the powder out of the way so that I can go to the next technique, which is going to be wiping. So we'll get to that right now. Now the reason that I go through and vacuum off as much powder as possible, and even this is a crappier job that I might normally do, but I'm going to show you why, is because as you're using the next technique, which is wiping, this is a microfiber that I got damp. Definitely you don't want it soaking wet by any means, you just want it a little bit damp. You're going to wipe off as much powder as possible. If there's too much powder, especially in upper areas, as you wipe, it's going to drop down in the lower areas, which just makes more work for you. So the way that I do it is I start at the top and I wipe all the way down and around, and then find a new place on the towel and do the exact same thing. You know, usually start at the top and work your way down. That way anything that you're knocking down, you're going to get shortly after. I've only seen one person complain about the way that I've done this. You know, if you're a powder coater out there and you have a better way, or you think that this is doing something negative, I'd be happy to hear what you have to say about it. I've never had to worry about it. It's always worked out really well. The only time I've ever had an issue is when I accidentally used a wet rag and touched, or wet microfiber, and touched a part that I didn't want to wipe the powder off of, and it was a pain in the ass to get powder to stick to that again. I ended up having to blow it all down, wipe it all down with a dryer sheet, and tried it all again. So now that we got the gist of it all done, I'm going to go through, cut a line on this weld. These are a 2-piece welded wheel from work. So there's a weld. You don't have to have a perfect line on the weld, obviously, because the weld is not a perfectly straight line. So it's a really good place to cut your line in. You can just use your finger to do most of it, especially if you get your finger a little bit wet off the towel or the microfiber, whatever you're using. And then once you got that, I'll pull the camera off the tripod here in a second too, to kind of show you this a little closer up. I know that this is not the best angle currently. And there are a lot of people that actually, I just saw a guy the other day, it was an Instagram video actually, and he was taping everything off. He had foiled most of the back, which is, I mean, a good use, and foil's much easier and much cheaper than using tape to do a lot of that. But he had foiled the entire back side and then taped off a line, and you know, I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it. I don't see a point in doing it that way. I also don't like the idea of foil because in this situation, because if you got powder underneath it, you would never know until it's already cured. So to me, it's not worth the risk at that point to do it that way. But like I said, there's definitely more than one way to do stuff. I don't pretend to be anything more than a powder coater who makes videos on YouTube. Definitely not probably an expert in this, but I've done it a lot. It's been really effective for me. And because I get asked how to do a lot of this stuff, now you guys get how-to videos out of me. So Yeah, now that we got all that, what I'm gonna do, because this towel is damp, I'm gonna go over it with a dry microfiber, because what you don't want is to have water spots of any kind dried into your powder here. Especially where I live, the water that we have here sucks. So you get a water spot dried into it, and it's definitely going to be there, cured into it, I should say. All right, and in the front, I'm going to have to move the camera some, but we'll do the part that I can do right now before I move the camera, and I'll show you the back when I finally take this thing off the tripod. And I'm going to set this wheel down on the stool down here and do the rest of it. Probably should have vacuumed that lip. And I am going to time lapse. I mean, this is not super time consuming, honestly. I spend probably maybe 10 minutes total, start to finish, when I do a wheel like this, especially when I'm not talking or trying to show the camera things. Oh, I just totally fucked that up. Alright, well, here's a perfect example of what I was talking about you don't want to do, and you don't want to let the end of the towel get wild and start waving around. So, let's see if I can see this in the camera. So right here, you can see these two lines that I just made because the corner of this hit. Hopefully, what I can do is just toss a tiny bit of powder right there from the gun. Moved a light over here. Try to show this better for you guys. Now the light is definitely in the way of this process. Alright, that'll work. Okay, so back to the same thing. Just gonna wipe this all off. Obviously this area that is sprayed powder has new powder all over it, so I'm gonna wipe all that off again. Probably trying to hurry too much, which this is definitely not a job that you want to hurry. There's no point in rushing this, because when you have to redo stuff like this, super time consuming, takes away profit margins if you're doing it for other people, obviously, or if you're doing it for yourself, it's more downtime with your parts and more time working when you didn't have to be, which most people do not enjoy. Alright, wipe the back of this one more time just because I did just respray part of it. Perfect. Wash this center bore out one more time. Alright. Alright, so as you can see, got all the powder off the back. I'm going to go through and wipe this with a dry towel one more time, but all the powder off the back. You can see the weld line right there is where I cut my line in. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs, if it's on that weld, you're golden. Can't see it at all, so we'll spin this around. So you can see I got most of the powder off of the lips. There's still a little bit all the way around in the hard to reach spot. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this and set it down on this little stool that I have set up, a little turntable type scenario. I'm going to go through and get a little more involved in removing the rest of that powder. Area that I touched with the rag wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, but threw some more powder at it, and now it's fine. Alright, so same process that we've been going through. I'm going to pull my hook out Obviously, if you guys are powder coating and you hang your wheels a different way, you don't have to worry about this part. Pull that hook, it's way easier to take that out and get it out of the way. That way you don't have to try to work around it. It's actually a huge pain in the ass to work around. And on these particular wheels, obviously it's going to vary from wheel to wheel. But this has a little groove around this lip. So you're going to want to make sure you get that out, because that'll be super visible on the car if you leave, well, in this case, matte black powder in it. Probably should have included this stool in my equipment video. This is literally like a Walmart stool. And then I went to, I honestly want to say it was like a woodworking store here local to me, and bought the little turntable that screws down. This thing has been a lifesaver for doing wheels. Alright, and then as far as the final, like, I mean, I don't want to call it finish work, but that's pretty much what it ends up being. Move this a little closer. So this line down here is super hard to cut, where the face is, you know, pressed in and then it's actually welded on the back side. The best thing you can do is try to get as much of this powder up and out as you can, the stuff that's right here on the edge, because you want to knock down as little as possible down, you know, into the opening or the groove that's all the way around this where the face meets the lip. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna time lapse it. Let me show you the tool. So I use kind of a rudimentary tool. This is just, I don't know, I think this came with like a Harbor Freight grinder. It's the little wrench that comes with it. I used to use popsicle sticks, and then I ran out, and I don't know, never went and bought more. But put the towel on it like this. Is the, where am I going? Oh, wet towel. Sorry, I was looking at the microphone instead. So put the wet towel around it, so it's as, you want to get it as flat on one side as humanly possible. So you're going to take that and run it around this edge. The wet towel is going to help you pick up a bunch of that powder. You're going to have to do it a couple times to, you know, to be effective at it, but that gives you the general idea. And then after that, I'm going to use a different variant of my vacuum tool. So this is literally just a different piece of hose. I have a couple of them cut at different angles. And then I run these into my vacuum piece that I already showed you. So this works like an absolute champion. I know that there was companies, I think Columbia used to make a pretty cool tool to do this same job, but I owned one, and then I think let a friend borrow it and never saw it again. So I'm going to time lapse the rest of this just because it's a little bit time consuming, but you guys will get the general idea of it. Finally got this thing all done. All the extra powder's wiped away. Gonna throw it in the oven now to do final cure. And I guess I'll show you as soon as this one comes out, as I'm noticing more crap on this. That's the one thing, every time you move this, you're gonna find more stuff. Probably should have mentioned that early on, but should be good to go. And bam, just like that, they are done. This is Last one's out in cooling right now, or there's still, I guess, 3 cooling. One's pretty much cooled down, so they are done. And that is two-toning some work 2-piece welded wheels. So essentially a 1-piece wheel, but you know, it is actually 2 pieces. What's up, everybody? Just wanted to say thanks for watching the video. So a couple more videos right here in case you're bored. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know every time we post a new video. By now you should have at least known. It's funny, I'm mad famous for being unknown.